to testing our features, okay, service. We have our task service tested, we have our user story service tested, and we have our user service tested. So we're doing pretty good. I'm going to copy my user service spec file so I can throw it in my features folder. And I'm going to start with editing it so it makes sense. The first thing I'm going to do is change the name of it. I'm going to change it to features.service.spec.ts. All right, I'm going to delete some of these things that I don't need. And I'm going to delete all of the tests that don't have anything to do with what I will be testing. All right, so we are going to call this our features service. This is going to be features service. I then need to import it. And then we are going to say mock feature repository. So then we're going to have feature service there. We're going to be using the entity feature. And then we are going to say mock feature repository. This is going to be features service. All right. So now that we have this kind of set up, what we're going to do is we're going to just run this first test that the service should be defined. So we're going to run the test for src/features. We should hopefully see one test pass. So good. All right, so now we are set up and we can kind of start making our spec test. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of split my screen so I can see what I'm testing here, and then I can see my tests over here. Okay. I'm also going to pull up my user story spec file because I want to be able to compare in case I need to get some syntax or something like that, then I should be able to. All right, and then I'm going to hide this sidebar here because I don't need it. So if I need example tests and syntax, I can look at my user story service spec file. Here is where I'm going to focus my efforts writing my feature service spec file, and then I'm going to be testing my feature service. So this is kind of how I'm going to have my file structure set up for hopefully success. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my feature service, and I'm going to make sure that I have the correct methods being mocked by my mock feature repository. All right, so we have find. All right, so we're going to have to add find here. All right. We have save. Perfect. We have find one. All right. So we want find one. All right, I'm going to delete find one by, but we'll add it back if we end up seeing it. We have save, find one, and delete. All right, perfect. So I feel pretty good about that. What I'm looking at now is I'm just seeing that my find one here is I'm repeating kind of the same thing. So that does make me feel like maybe I would want to kind of refactor that into its own function. But right now I'm not going to worry too much about it. But our mock feature repository should have all the correct methods in it now. All right. So now I'm going to kind of minimize these functions so I can focus on this first one that I'm going to test, which is going to be get project features. All right, so we are going to be passing in a project ID, and we are going to be, we want the relations of user stories, and we are going to get that project's features and then corresponding user stories, it sounds like. okay? So let's write a test for it. All right, then we're going to have get project features. And then we're going to say should return a project's, I'm going to make these double quotes so I can use an apostrophe, a project's feature and features and user and those features user stories based on passed in project ID. All right, then we can make our asynchronous function for our test. All right, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to mock we want to like create data that we can use to test this. So we're going to say const ID is going to equal to, let's just say 1. And this is a project ID. I think this is going to get confusing, so I'm actually going to label it project ID. So that way I know that that is what is getting passed in. Okay, then I want to have, this is going to look in the features repository and get features and user stories. So I'm going to say const features, and that's going to be an array, and then it's going to have list of features in it. So I'm going to say as feature and then array. All right, so let's go ahead and make this first feature. So we're going to have an ID. Let's say feature is feature 1. We're going to have a name, which is going to be feature 1. We're going to have a description, but it doesn't really matter what it is. So we're going to say feature 1 description. I'm going to just do F1 description. And then we're going to have user stories, which is going to be an array. And then I'm going to just make it an empty array. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and add another one just for fun. And then we'll just say that there are no user stories within it. All right. Next, we are wanting to spy on our mock feature repository. We're going to be spying on the find method, and we are going to mock the return value. Okay, the return value is going to be features. Okay, now we can say that our result is going to be equal to await service dot get project features, and we will pass in the project ID. So we expect that the result is going to equal features. All right, let's run it with that and see how we do. All right, so we passed, so that is exciting. Okay, so now let's also say that we expect that our mock feature repository dot find method has to have been called, and then we expect that our mock feature repository dot find method to have been called with, and then let's go ahead and pass this object in. We will have to edit a little bit because there is no ID. We changed the name of it for more clarity. So we're going to just do ID is project ID. And now we can rerun this test and we can see that it passed. So very exciting. All right, so the next test that we can do is about create features. So we're going to go ahead and move on to that one. All right, so let's expand the functions. That way we really understand what we are testing. And basically we're passing in a name and a description and a project ID. Okay, one sec, I feel like I'm going to sneeze. Maybe it's going to pass. Then we are going to save the feature within that project. And then we are going to call the get project features to get the list of all of the features for that project. All right, I think I understand what the function I'm testing is going to do. So now I can kind of start writing the tests. So I'm going to be testing the create feature function. and it should add a feature to a project and return a list of that project's features. Then we're going to have to use double quotes here since we're using an apostrophe. And then we say we're making an asynchronous function. And now we have to mock our data. All right, so we have const name. Let's say feature 3, because what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to just use this here. And I'm going to say const description is going to be feature 3 description. Then I'm going to have const project ID is going to be, I don't know why I'm writing it like this. Being a little bit silly today. The project ID is going to be 1. Is that kind of the idea that we're going with? And then I'm going to get this list of features because ultimately that is what's going to be returned. And then I'm going to add the item to it. So feature 3 description. And then I'm going to do const saved feature is going to be equal to, and then I'm going to copy this because that is what we're going to be saving. Then I'm going to say as feature. All right, so I think we have all of our data there. So now we need to spy on our mock feature repository. We're spying first on save, and we are mocking the return value. We want the return value to be saved feature. The next thing that we're going to spy on is going to be the mock feature repository, and then it's going to be the, let's take a look, because we're calling the get projects features, which is going to use find. So we're going to need to mock return value, and then we want to return features. Okay? So now we can actually call the function. So const result is going to be await service dot create feature. Then we can pass in the name, description, and project ID. And then we can write that we expect the results to equal features. All right, let's run our test and see how we do. Whoop, whoop, and we pass, so that's exciting. So now let's go ahead and add what mock repository methods we expect to have been called and what they should have been called with. All right, so we expect mock feature repository.save. We expect that to have been called. And then we expect the mock feature repository.save to have been called with, and then we are going to copy this here. All right. We also expect that the mock feature repository.find has been called, and we expect, that mock feature repository.find to have been called with, and let's go up here. And ID is going to be equal to project ID. All right, perfect. I think, yep, I accidentally imported something on accident. Let's run our tests and see how we do. All right, so we got 3 passed, so we're doing pretty good. All right, so to summarize, we have tested get project features and create feature. I think this is going to be a good time to kind of pause, and we will resume with update feature. See you in the next video.